Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what is honestly a battlefield in most modern households: teen screen addiction. But hold on, before we start talking about parental controls or cutting the Wi-Fi, let's take a breath. We're actually going to look at this through a completely different lens today. We're exploring a fascinating framework from beyond school skills that takes screen time, which usually feels like a massive passive trap, and literally transforms it into an active, career-building tool. Let's get into it. So we've all experienced the passive phase, right? It's that sinking feeling you get when you realize, wow, another 2 hours just evaporated on Reels. It's just endless, empty scrolling. But what if there's a pivot? Enter the active phase. This is where time isn't just lost into the void, it's actually invested. It's the moment a tangible career-building project actually begins. So the real million-dollar question for us today is, how exactly do we help students cross that bridge from just passively consuming content to actively building something? Here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll cover the attention war, then look at the paradigm shift, followed by the 3 tiers of mastery. After that, we'll do a deep dive spotlight on the investigator tier, and finally, wrap things up with the Guardian playbook. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the attention war. You know, when you really step back and look at the sheer scale of the opposition here, it's kind of mind-blowing. You are quite literally fighting against platforms that employ world-class neuroscientists and software engineers. Their single goal? To design algorithms engineered specifically to hook attention and monetize young minds. The hard truth is that a standard school textbook simply can't compete with those highly engineered dopamine loops. So if you ever feel like you're losing the battle for your teen's attention, cut yourself some slack. The other side is incredibly well-funded and scientifically precise. Moving right along to Section 2, the paradigm shift. Okay, so why do traditional responses totally fail? Well, aggressive confiscation, just snatching the device away, usually just creates massive defensive walls. And let's be real, a few slam doors. It triggers immediate resistance, and ultimately, big tech wins anyway. The actual game changer here is redirection. The goal isn't just to obsess over the amount of screen time, but to upgrade what gets built during that time. When we redirect that screen time toward missions that actually produce portfolio-ready output, that's when real growth happens. This really requires a fundamental shift in how we think. The device sitting in your teen's hand right now is not a weapon. It is an absolutely incredible piece of engineering. The real issue is just that it's running the wrong software for their personal development. If we can just change that software, if we change what they're actively interacting with, we can unlock some incredible potential. Which brings us to Section 3, the 3 tiers of mastery. So, Beyond School Skills structures this whole redirection process into 3 distinct tiers of career mastery. Step 1 is the Explorer tier. This is the entry point where students are basically just discovering different STEM tracks and building super basic prototypes driven purely by raw curiosity. Step 2 is the Investigator tier, where intensive applied learning really kicks in. And finally, Step 3 is the Architect tier. That's the mastery level where they're building real-world specs and reports, making them genuinely industry-ready. It's a very clear, logical progression. Now let's slow down a bit for Section 4, our spotlight, the Investigator tier. This is honestly where the real magic of career discovery happens. The Investigator tier acts as the ultimate bridge. It takes that initial raw curiosity from the Explorer phase and completely transforms it into concrete applied learning. Because, reading about a concept is great, but bridging theory and reality by actually rolling up your sleeves and doing it, that changes everything. And the mechanics of this phase are just fascinating. We aren't talking about casually reading articles online. We're talking about complex simulations and rigorous data analysis. Picture tracks like advanced coding, smart wealth management, or even leadership pipelines. In this tier, a student might literally be running simulated code to figure out exactly where it breaks, or analyzing financial data to build a mock wealth strategy. By navigating these complex simulations, they are yielding highly specialized skills. They're figuring out how these massive digital platforms and complex systems are constructed from the inside out. This is exactly what highly effective constructive downtime looks like in practice. The Investigator tier completely proves that screen time can be rigorous, deeply challenging, and incredibly rewarding all at once. When a student bridges that gap from just having a passive interest to actually wielding specialized skills through data and simulation, they stop being mere consumers of technology. They start becoming directors of it. And that leads us to our final section, the Guardian playbook. So how do you actually facilitate this without being overbearing? The Guardian dashboard offers some amazing tools designed to support your teen, not suffocate them.
You get live tracking to see their progression, of course, but the soft skill mapping is the real standout here. You aren't just checking boxes, you're mapping their persistence, their precision, and their problem-solving skills in real time. Plus, you get instant notifications for big achievement milestones like hitting that architect status and even weekly praise prompts. For example, it might nudge you to ask them about a specific efficiency milestone they just crushed in their latest coding project.
Now, I know actually starting this conversation with a teen can be tricky, but this no friction script is absolutely brilliant. You can literally just read this to them. Notice how it shifts the blame entirely onto the platforms, saying, hey, these tech companies are making billions off our passive attention. And then immediately it offers them agency. Let's look at these modules together. You can pick a track you actually like. Whether it's coding or wealth management, you are empowering them to choose their own path, which drastically reduces the friction of trying to pivot their habits.
And this brings us to the final and maybe most important paradigm shift. You have to step away from the warden mentality. If you're just monitoring their hours and treating these modules like chores on an attendance sheet, you're going to kill the joy of discovery. Instead, become the angel investor. Fuel their autonomy. Don't micromanage their time. Praise their tangible portfolio outputs. When you say, wow, show me that modular career map you just built, you completely transform the household dynamic from one of rigid control to one of absolute celebration.
Well, that wraps up our explainer for today. We've explored how the investigator tier uses complex simulations and data analysis to turn simple curiosity into specialized, real-world career skills. We've seen exactly why redirection beats prohibition every single time. So I'm going to leave you with this one provocative question. Are you ready to stop fighting the screen and start investing in the architect generation? Seriously, how will you help your student transition from passive scrolling to active building today? Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer. Keep learning.